This video presents content from Chapter 3 of the book, Sustainable Living and World Peace. This video is the second of two videos on the section entitled People and Life Virtue, or PAL Virtue, Definition and Importance. The previous video, which was the first half of People and Life Virtue, or PAL Virtue, Definition and Importance, ended with the presentation of the foundational sentiments of PAL Virtue. Presented now are some of the individual virtues common throughout all humanity. Although most of these virtues are significant to the development, evolution, and advancement of more than one of the foundational sentiments, many are loosely categorized by relevance to one of the four foundational sentiments of PAL Virtue. The list of virtues is broken down into: Number 1, virtues growing our appreciation for the uniqueness and specialness of human life and all life. Number 2, virtues underlying our commitment to peace. Number 3, virtues developing our aspiration for the betterment of fellow human beings. Number 4, virtues advancing our efforts for sustainability. And other virtues. It may be good to pause the video at this time so you can examine the list of virtues and consider their relevance to each of the foundational sentiments. Presented now are some of the individual iniquities common throughout all humanity that have hindered our advancement. Many are loosely categorized by relevance to the PAL Virtue foundational sentiment they impede, thus causing our inability to achieve complete sustainability at this time. The list of iniquities is broken down into: Number 1, iniquities impeding us from appreciating the uniqueness and specialness of human life and all life. Number 2, iniquities causing war and violence. Number 3, iniquities impeding us to aspire for the betterment of fellow human beings. Number 4, iniquities causing non-sustainability, and other iniquities. It may be good to pause the video at this time so you can examine the list of iniquities and consider their relevance to, and adverse effects on, each of the foundational sentiments. Many of the virtues or iniquities could go in more than one category. Although empathy was only placed in one category, virtues growing our appreciation for the uniqueness and specialness of human life and all life, it could have gone into all the categories. Empathy includes empathy toward other humans and all other life. It helps us to understand how special human life and all of life are. It gives us an essential connection to other people and all of life. The iniquity that had to go into all the iniquity categories is ignorance. Ignorance can stem from someone being sheltered from the events of the world, society directing someone's thoughts along a narrow and controlled path, or someone not inquiring or reflecting upon the nature of life and humanity. It belongs in all of the categories of iniquities and has helped to create and drive the development of many of the other individually listed iniquities. Martin Luther King Jr. once wrote, "Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Ignorance is a big one for us to overcome. It is difficult to describe PAL Virtue since it really is a synergy of virtues and more than just merely a collection of virtues. It is challenging to describe feelings or knowledge, especially something as broad as the virtue that can bring about the solutions to the world's problems. This virtue is personal to us in our individual understanding, inasmuch as it is also a unifying cause and experience. It truly must be personally experienced in order to be understood and lived by each person. We can experience the oneness of all humanity and the feeling of brotherhood in our equal creation. We can experience the oneness of all of life in our collective unique situation in the universe. As human beings, we can feel the importance of our lives and the importance of life in general. The great value of human life and all of life should be clear to us, and this understanding is an important part of our PAL Virtue. Government regulations or interventions will be much less important than people having this personal experience and understanding in our efforts towards complete sustainability and world peace. With everything that could be done to take steps towards complete sustainability and peace, the most important thing that could happen is gaining the deep appreciation for life with the understanding of its divinely originated special place in the universe. It is appropriate to speak of this all-important appreciation as a feeling or a revelation of knowledge. We could say that we are using our mental faculty of reason to come to the conclusion that living sustainably and peacefully will be a requirement in our futures of ever-advancing technologies. We could use logic to come to the conclusion that these things are necessary for the future well-being of humanity and the life-sustaining processes of the earth. But human feelings, with the emotional and empathetic ties they create, give us comprehension and awareness beyond the capability of any other living thing. Human feelings are undeniably and recognizably meaningful and motivational, and possibly the most significant insight we can experience in certain situations, transcending our ability to grasp their importance beyond any other of our human faculties. Just to mention, one reason the Declaration of Independence is so meaningful to us is because we can feel the great truth in the words that all men are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights. Realizing the foundational sentiment of pal virtue involving a deep appreciation for people in all of life will prove to have the greatest significance in humans' future relationships with the earth and with each other. Attaining this deep appreciation will propel our commitment and our involvement in the earth's health and make it an automatic priority in our lives. We must follow up on this by accepting responsibility for our dominion over the earth. With this appreciation and virtuous understanding, we will accept the responsibility we face, which is a responsibility at a global level that humanity has never faced before. We are endowed with the wisdom to see the necessity for peace and sustainability, and we have the essential characteristics to make this a part of our reality. For much of humans' past existence, people's lives involved more of a struggle to simply survive in a world of uncertainty than what we face today. These people's actions for survival and living were not so potentially threatening to cause large-scale alterations to the earth and life systems as what could happen today. However, our ancestors would not always be sure where their next meal would come from or if a disease would overtake them. The average expected lifespan was much shorter than what we can expect today, and it was much more of a daily struggle just to maintain existence for yourself and your loved ones. People of the past did not have refrigeration, electronic communication, mechanical transportation, medicine, and other conveniences we fortunately have today that greatly help us in our daily survival. The scientific revolution and industrial revolution have brought us to the modern world and have given us many opportunities and experiences. Now that we have broadened powers over the earth in terms of our technologies and advancements, we must think on much larger scales of time and area when creating things and making decisions. Our technology has grown incredibly over the last few generations, and the pace of technological advancement will grow without an endpoint ever being reached. Our level of sustainable product design and environmental conservation needs to keep pace with the technologies that allow us to extract, exploit, and create value and opportunity from what we obtain from the earth. In many cases, these technologies will be intertwined or potentially one and the same. Always seek interactions and connections, and reflect on how your actions and decisions will affect areas seemingly distant from you. Just because we have created technological advances that can harm ecosystems and life systems does not mean that our technological advances have to be unsustainably harmful to the earth and all of life. It is not technological advances per se, or the pursuit of growth that are automatically detrimental to the earth. It is the way that we have been pursuing growth up until now that has been unsustainable and harmful. It is a matter of understanding, priorities, and choice, then pursuing and designing our technology in an appropriate way. This book does not put forth an agenda like many other books. It instead observes a natural human virtue stemming from our empathy for people and life, our sense of oneness with all people and all life, and our human conscience as a source to solve our problems. Our pal virtue should not permit us to get stuck in the problems of today as static situations with no solutions. Expressing our natural pal virtue will provide the necessary addition to our decisions, behaviors, and actions that will allow us to solve the problems the world faces and the problems future generations will face. The earth has all the resources we need to live sustainably if we use them intelligently with our pal virtue. We are too special to fail, but with all the new capabilities we have and will acquire, we will need to keep our innovation for sustainability in step with our innovations for adding value and opportunity for all people.